And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and once again, it's great to have you guys here on this Friday. So I just, of course, did the football podcast about a half hour ago, just wrapped that up. So now we're back again, doing some baseball, talking some baseball, got some stuff to talk about on the show today. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. To become part of the show, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes it more interactive between myself, the host, and you, the viewer. And, of course, the link is on the ticker on the bottom as well. Again, the link, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. So we got some stuff to talk about on the show today, the baseball portion. So we'll start off by talking about the Silver Slugger winners. We'll go over that. In the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner meeting with the media, the Yankees front office, and I'll talk about some of the things that they had to say with that, because I know it was kind of interesting how that went down, particularly with Brian Cashman. So we'll talk about that, because I know that was really kind of trending, and of course being a Yankee fan as well. Then in the third part of the show, we'll go over the very early power rankings that were released earlier this week. So I'll go over that. I'll give you my thoughts on that. We'll go through it, see what we agree with, what we disagree with, things like that. And then for the final part of the show, we will go over the top free agents going into the offseason, because now we're in the offseason. That's it. The World Series is over. So we got to figure some stuff out, talk about. But yeah, that's the rundown for the show today. So let's get right into the first topic, which is going over the Silver Slugger Award winners for this season. So we'll go position by position, because our MLB lists it. It's by position for each league. So we'll go first base, and then we'll work our way through it. So starting at first base, for the American League, you have Yandy Diaz of the Rays getting that award. He's actually the first Silver Slugger winner from the Rays since Carl Crawford back in 2010. I looked that up because on MLB it says since 2010. And I assumed, I guess maybe it was Longoria, but no, it was Longoria did win one. Carlos Pena also won one as well, but Carl Crawford won in 2010. I think Longoria won in 2009, and Carlos Pena won in 2007. So yeah, I mean that's going way back. That's going way back to those Rays teams. The 2010s, and obviously the team that went to the World Series to play the Phillies. Back in 2008, a lot of those guys were on that team as well. But Yandy Diaz, won a batting title this year. He's kind of he was. There's some rumors floating around that he could be traded or something. Which I think I said it on. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I did see something that said maybe like the Mariners are looking to try to get him or something. I mean, again, it's all rumors, all speculation. So you can't really. I mean, I don't really know. I have no idea. But so he got the Silver Slugger Award for first base in the American League. Then for the National League, I mean, this is kind of no surprise. I mean, he had an awesome season, and that was Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. I mean, what an incredible season he had. He topped the majors in home runs and RBIs. 604 slugging percentage, which was the best in the National League. 54 home runs, 139 yards. 39 yards. Sorry, still got football in the mind. 139 RBIs, which is the most in Braves history. And, I mean, there's no surprise there. Now, with the Braves, a disappointing end to their season, of course. I mean, I was someone that had them winning the whole thing. I mean, I don't really think there was anything wrong with that, but the Braves, they kind of fell flat against the Phillies. But yeah, great season for Matt Olson. So now we go to second base. So in the American League, you got World Series champ Marcus Semien. For the second time, actually, in 3 seasons, Marcus Semien claimed the Silver Slugger Award. And He was named a finalist for AL MVP. He led the American League with 122 runs and 185 hits, and had a 7.4 WAR, which was second in the AL to Shohei Ohtani. He had 73 extra base hits, 320 total bases, which was the most among second basemen. He also drove in 100 runs for the second time in his career. So congratulations to him. And then we move on to the NL winner, and there's no surprise there, and that is Marlins second baseman Luis Arraez, who was great this year. Was batting .400 at one point into late June. He ended up with the .354 batting average. He won his second straight Silver Slugger on the back of his second straight batting title. And this is coming off of getting traded from the Twins. And he actually became the first player during the modern era since 1900 to earn a batting title in each league in consecutive seasons. So congratulations to him. Marlins got a good player. And it really just makes you... I mean, listen, Pablo Lopez did pitch well in the playoffs, but, wonder why the Twins, thought, we should trade him. I mean, I guess to get pitching, but I don't know. But yeah, congratulations to him. We go to shortstop now. You got Corey Seager, another World Series champ from the Texas Rangers. Obviously, another World Series MVP. He's up there in the MVP voting. 33 home runs, 96 RBIs, 88 runs scored, and an AL high 42 doubles this season. And he missed about 6 weeks due to injuries, which that's crazy to think about. He finished second in the American League in batting average, slugging percentage, and OPS. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the MVP voting, he's going to be up there. Corey Seager for the American League winning shortstop Silver Slugger. And for the NL, it was actually Francisco Lindor of the Mets. But over his 90 games, as it says here in the article, he registered a .288 batting average. He had 19 home runs, 54 RBIs. He finished with 31 home runs and a career high 31 steals on the year. And obviously, with the new rule changes and things like that, obviously stealing bases became more common. And he became one of just 6 shortstops to go 30 and 30. So that was good for him. So those are the 2 winners for shortstop. Then you go to third base. You got Rafael Devers of the Red Sox taking it. 26 years old, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. For the third time in his career, he's done that. He's a great player for them. At least for Red Sox fans, they could say that Devers is still on their team because it looked like maybe the Red Sox let him go too, but that wasn't the case. And then you got Austin Riley winning it for the Braves. He's also just 26. He paced all qualified third basemen in runs with 117 hits, 179 home runs, 37 extra base hits, 72 total bases, 328, and OPS 861. Austin Riley has hit 30 home runs 3 times in his career, and Hall of Famers Eddie Matthews and Chipper Jones are the only players with more such seasons in a Braves jersey. So that's good company to be in. So congratulations to those 2 guys. And then for the outfield in the American League, you got Luis Robert Jr. of the White Sox, one of the bright spots of the White Sox, even though they had a rough season, of course. 38 home runs on the season for him after hitting a total of 36 through the first 857 at-bats of his career. His 75 extra base hits were the most among AL outfielders and the most by a White Sox outfielder since Jermaine Dye in 2008. So whenever you see a White Sox box on Immaculate Grid, make sure to throw in Jermaine Dye because that's a throwback there. Julio Rodriguez, he won his second Silver Slugger for the Mariners. Got off to a slow start this year, but 32 home runs, 37 stolen bases, and an 818 OPS. He actually was the first player to win this award in each of their first 2 seasons in the big leagues, according to Elias Sports Bureau. He's been great for the Mariners. I mean, a disappointing end to their season, especially because they made the playoffs in 22, but he's going to be a great player for a long time. So he gets his second Silver Slugger, and of course you got Kyle Tucker getting his first. of the Astros. He was great this season. And he finished one home run shy of Houston's first 30-30 season since 2004. And he hit 354 with runners in scoring position, and he racked up an AL leading 112 RBIs. I mean, he's a great player for the Astros. So congratulations to both of those guys. And then in the National League, I mean, the guys that are here, it's not a surprise. You got Ronald Acuna Jr., who, of course, 41 home runs, 73 stolen bases on the season. He was unbelievable, the National League MVP. He's going to win his third. And Mookie Betts is getting his sixth Silver Slugger Award, and he was he's going to be the runner-up most likely. His stats this year, were the best since his 2018 AL MVP campaign, and he hit a career-high 39 home runs, 80 extra base hits for the second time in his career, and led all position players aside from Ohtani with an 8.3 WAR on the season. And then you got Juan Soto, who's of course part of Train Talks for the Padres. Another great season for him, 35 home runs, 410 on base percentage, 132 walks, and he became the first player since Barry Bonds from the 02-04 season to lead MLB outright in base on balls for 3 consecutive seasons. So then we go to the catching spot. Adley Rutschman of the Orioles, he gets his first career Silver Slugger, 277 on the season, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, 92 walks, 256 total bases, were also the most among catchers and the second most by a primary catcher in Orioles history. And then you have William Contreras of the Brewers getting his first, 17 home runs on the season, led all qualified catchers in doubles, extra base hits, and slugging percentage. Contreras batted .314 with an .873 OPS following the All-Star break. So then we go to the designated hitter. Of course, you got Shohei Ohtani for the Angels. I mean, what is there to say about him that hasn't been said already? 44 home runs, 412 on base percentage, 325 total bases, were at the top of the American League. And he also accomplished this while also being a starting pitcher. I mean, he's going to win MVP. He should. And we'll see what happens in the offseason. That is going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. And then you got Bryce Harper getting his third for the Phillies. 18 home runs and 1,000 OPS over his final 68 games. It did take him some time to, get going, but, and obviously dealing with the offseason elbow surgery. But, 21 home runs, 51 extra base hits. He actually went homerless for 37 games. Forgot about that. But then he snapped that streak on July 15th. And then utility guys, you got Gunnar Henderson, who is the favorite to win AL Rookie of the Year, and you got Cody Bellinger of the Cubs, who had a bounce-back season, batting .307 with 26 home runs and an .881 OPS. And so with Gunnar Henderson, crushed 28 home runs, including the longest to land on Utah Street during a game in Camden Yards, 31-year history. So that's interesting. And he actually was also the 15th rookie to claim a Silver Slugger. So congratulations to both of those guys. And, just congratulations to all of the Silver Slugger winners. A lot of great players obviously getting it this year. A couple of World Series champs, of course, getting it as well. Those are all the winners. And with that, we are going to take now our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Yankees and what their front office had to say this past week to the media. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Yankees front office meeting with the media, talking about how the season went for them, and what moves could be made in the offseason to improve the team. Of course, obviously, the bigger thing with this is Brian Cashman and a lot of his comments. I have some of the quotes, here, and for me, it was interesting because, from listening to, what everybody else has been saying, it just seems like he just was going after, Yankee Twitter and defending himself because, he talked about how he's proud of, the people that he has, and we got good baseball people, and cursed a lot. He cursed a lot, when talking to the media. And it was like the complete opposite with Hal Steinbrenner, because Hal Steinbrenner said we failed the fans. I mean, both of them said the fans deserve better, but Hal Steinbrenner, of course, wasn't going to curse or anything like that. But I don't think anybody really expected Cashman to do what he did either. But Hal Steinbrenner, they both said how disappointing the season was, and the fans deserve better and things like that. But I mean, the way Cashman came off, he was defending everything and saying how the stuff about being analytically driven is BS. He said, cursed a lot, and he talked about how the Yankees have the smallest analytics department in the American League East. But there was a chart that came out that kind of disputes that, and also how they got the biggest scouting department. And he had a little bit of a back and forth with Joel Sherman on player development, because Jose Peraza. Oswald Peraza, sorry, not Jose Peraza. Oswald Peraza was the guy they were talking about, and how if Peraza hit, you would find a place to play him. And then Cashman kept saying, well, where would we play him? And it just kept going back and forth. Well, if he hits, you're going to play him. Well, where are we going to play him? It just kept going back and forth. Jose Peraza. Hey, I mean, I think the Yankees did have him at one point, too. Well, the Mets had him, but the Yankees had him too. But Cashman, said, I'm proud of our people. I'm proud of our process. That's the one thing that he says a lot. Process. The process. I'm proud of the process. Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I feel like in a way, he kind of contradicts himself. Because he also said, it's all about wins and losses. But then he's like, well, the process is good. Well, I mean, is the process good? Because the Yankees have not won a championship now in 15 years going on. It's a long time. And they're coming off of their worst season since, I think, 1992. Now, again, they finished 2 games over, but a lot of things didn't go right for them at all. And I don't really know what they're going to do. I really don't. And, a lot of Yankee fans, I mean, I'm concerned that they're probably not going to do anything major. I mean, all they've done so far is, hire a batting coach. Because Sean Casey wasn't coming back. So they brought in another batting coach who worked with Aaron Judge. So I don't really know what the major changes are going to be. I mean, they got to improve the roster. And the other thing, too, is, we talk about analytics. Now, listen, I don't think analytics is... Analytics, I think, when you're using that more so, that's, the end-all, be-all. If that's what you're relying on, that's a problem. But I think the thing is, it's roster construction with the Yankees. I mean, you got all right-handed hitters. It's because, analytics could be are some of the reasons why you've made some of the decisions that you've made by some of the players you acquired. That I think is where there's an issue when it becomes heavily relying on analytics in that respect. When it comes to roster construction and how you go through the game, making in-game decisions, that's I think where the issue is. But it's roster construction. and Cashman defended a lot of the trade. Was talking about how Sonny Gray, Joey Gallo, like he brought them up and how they've been productive players elsewhere, but they weren't productive here. And he said, well, now the Dodgers picked him up, and he was with the Twins that won a playoff series. Joey Gallo did not play in any of those games. He was a non-factor in those playoff series. Sonny Gray, and this is the other thing, Sonny Gray came out and said that it didn't work out in New York because they were making him throw a pitch that he wasn't good at using, right? It was like the slider, I think. Like he couldn't use that. So like, I don't really know. It's bad. I mean, they've made a lot of bad moves. They have. And you know what? The thing I will say though is that both him and Steinbrenner, they both address the media. They do. They both took accountability, and I appreciate that. That's one thing that I'll still appreciate with Brian Cashman is that he gets up in front of the media and and says like, yeah, it's my it falls on me. But the way he like conducted himself, it was odd. I guess because he's definitely like fed up with what's been said about his process, but the process hasn't been good in recent years. It just hasn't. So now in terms of what the Yankees are going to do, I mean, Cashman said we need 2 left-handed outfielders, which, yeah, and Kevin Kiermaier, I think is probably the most likely player they end up with. That's really what's going to end up happening. Is they're going to get Kevin Kiermaier, and Dominguez will eventually come back. I mean, you hope they get Bellinger, but I don't know. I did see something that says it's going to be tougher for the Mets to land Yamamoto, the Japanese pitcher, as opposed to the Yankees. So, I mean, I guess that's good to help your rotation. But I don't know. It's the whole thing is interesting. And the audit, it's going to be like a year-long audit. So, we're going to have to wait till the end of the season to, figure out what their findings are. That whole thing really didn't make any sense. I don't know. It's just, and when we go over the power rankings in the next part of the show, Yankees are not in the top 10. They're not in the top 10. Now, again, it's someone's opinion, but I don't have a problem with it. But I just feel like, Brian Cashman just seems like he's going to have a lifetime job with the Yankees. Like, he's not going anywhere. And look, he was a successful manager or general manager at one point, and he was part of those winning teams, even though, like, now because people just don't like him and how the team has been, they just don't give him any credit. The last couple of years, like, my trust in Brian Cashman has gone down. It's faded away. Because the trade deadline in 2022 was a mess. How the team just has no left-handed hitters. The level of trust is just not there anymore. And, I think he's a guy that just is like overstayed his welcome. So, I mean, he's going to be the general manager moving forward. I mean, keeping Aaron Boone. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, they're kind of running it back with the same group, in terms of the manager and the front office. But, they got to make changes with the roster. And, Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, like, want to be a part of those conversations. And I think, like, when it comes to your star players, like, you want them to be part of those conversations because that's who you're building your team around. I mean, Brian Cashman, if it wasn't for Hal Steinbrenner picking up the phone and talking to Aaron Judge is not going to be a Yankee. He's not a Yankee right now. He's not. Brian Cashman would have let him go. And, you talk about a lot of the players back in the core 4 days, like, they're not fond of Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, talking with Derek Jeter about with his contract situation and how he told him like what shortstops he would take over Jeter. Jorge Posada supposedly doesn't like him either. I mean, he's Brian Cashman is a very controversial figure with the Yankees, and it's just how he conducted himself the other day. It didn't sit well with a lot of people. And, I don't know. It's an interesting situation, and we'll see what the Yankees do in the offseason, if they really do anything. I mean, I kind of expect more of the same. Like, I expect like a Kevin Kiermaier move. That's really it. Maybe you get another pitcher. I don't know. I mean, they're talking about bringing back Frankie Montas. I kind of see more of the same in 2024. But again, it's just the beginning of the offseason, so like things can change, and like maybe they go out and they get Bellinger, and you sign Yamamoto. I don't know. I don't really know. But you got an older team. You got to fix it, because guys aren't going to get better as they get older. Like, they're going to get worse, and you're already seeing that with Stanton. I mean, LeMahieu was struggling, but was able to figure it out, kind of. Rizzo got hurt, and then, he looked like the worst hitter in baseball. But you hope it's because of the concussion. You hope he can bounce back from that. I hope he does, because I love Anthony Rizzo. But, yeah, these are it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Yankees. But right now, you look at them, and they're not really a World Series contender, as people usually look at them as. But we'll talk about it with the power rankings. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it with this topic. Let me know what you guys think about what Cashman had to say, what Hal Steinbrenner had to say, and we'll see if they if they address the media again anytime soon. Maybe not, but I just want to remind you guys once again, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, it's a great way to make the show more interactive between me, the host, and you, the viewer. Once again, the following link, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. So, when we get back from our second break of the show, the Yankees will come up at some point during that segment, but we'll talk about the power rankings that were released this week, and we'll go over that, where all the teams are within that, and that will be the third part of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, and for the third part of the show, we are going to go through the power rankings, the very early power rankings that were released, and I will give you my my thoughts on those right now. So, start off at number 30. You got the Oakland A's. You got the A's, the Rockies, and the Royals. Some of the worst. The Royals and the A's losing 100 games. I don't know what it's going to happen with these teams moving forward, but the A's obviously looking to move to Vegas, of course. Not good seasons for them. The White Sox, they could be looking to move some star players. I did come out with the short earlier in the week that there are no untouchables, the general manager said, Chris Getz. So we could see maybe some guys being moved. White Sox going into a full rebuild. They had a very disappointing season as well. And, this is a team that does have a lot of talent, but they just really haven't been able to put it together the last couple of seasons. And it's upsetting. Well, for White Sox fans, it's upsetting. But, you got a lot of good players on your team, but you just can't really seem to put it together. They've kind of been a mess recently. So then you got the Pirates and the Angels, 26 and 25. The Pirates actually did get off to a good start in 2023, but then it kind of flamed out, and they went back to what they have been the last, several years now. The Angels, they are a disappointment. I was hoping they were going to make the playoffs with Trout and Ohtani, and that just ended up not happening. Unfortunately. And now who knows what's going to happen. They went for it at the deadline. I said they were 54 and 49. I think that was after the doubleheader against the Tigers. And then, they went for it. They traded for guys, Grichuk, Giolito, C.J. Cron, and the season just, and they also traded for Moustakas as well, earlier in the year. Trout comes back, and then it just fell apart. And then Ohtani got hurt, of course. We'll see what happens next year. Does Trout stick around? Does he get moved? Ohtani, where is he going to end up? We'll see. Then you go to 24, 23, you got the Nationals and the Tigers. The Nationals, they're in a rebuild. They got some young players, that can maybe be part of their future. So, we'll see how that goes. The Tigers, obviously Miguel Cabrera retiring. We'll see, what happens with them moving forward. But, yeah, so they're 24 and 23. The Cardinals at 22, disappointing year for them. I don't know what the offseason is going to bring for them, but we'll see. This is a team that's got a lot of holes as well. The Guardians, again, Stephen Vogt as their manager. They're at 21. They moved off of some guys at the deadline. We'll see what they do in the offseason. This is a winnable division that they're in, so and same thing goes for the Tigers and the Cardinals. The Cardinals, maybe they get back to how they're supposed to be, of course. So you got those three teams, and then you got the Giants at 20. At one point they were 10 games over 500, but then things, kind of went south, and they, ultimately, missed out on the playoffs. Again, another middle-of-the-pack team. They're at 20. The Marlins, they got some of these teams, very low that made the playoffs. The Marlins at 19, Brewers at 18, behind the Red Sox and the Mets. I find that interesting. I guess because now with Craig Counsell being gone, for the Brewers they're lower. I guess the Marlins. That's a playoff team. I don't know why they're lower, but again, this is going into next year, so yeah. It's going to be different, but I don't really agree with that. I think they should be a little bit higher. They got the Mets at 17, Red Sox at 16. We'll see. Mets are going to spend, you would imagine, and the Red Sox, we'll see what they do. Actually, interesting thing with the Yankees and the Red Sox. So there was the Red Sox reportedly had interest in Gleyber Torres, and then maybe working on a trade for that. I definitely wouldn't do that if I was the Yankees, because why would you want him in your division? But, if he leaves, after this year, I mean, Red Sox could say, hey, we'll take you. And then he could, torment the Yankees for years to come. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but you never know. Because I really don't know if the Yankees are going to give him a contract. I don't see it. So then you got the Reds at 15. They let Joey Votto go, so I don't know if he's going to retire, go elsewhere. We'll see. But they have a lot of good young players, too. That's another team as well, middle of the pack. They were fighting for that third wild card spot. So they were at 15. Padres were at 14. We'll see what they do. Do they trade some of their big stars, or do they run it back at least one more year? I think regardless of what happens, I mean, I'd be surprised if they offered Soto a contract, because I did the stuff I talked about, with them having to take out a loan. I mean, they're not going to be able to afford them. So yeah, they're at 14. The Cubs at 13. Getting Craig Counsell as their manager. We'll see. I mean, do they bring back Bellinger? Marcus Stroman, I think, is also a free agent as well from their pitching staff. Obviously they had a disappointing end to their season. I thought they were going to be the second wild card. I mean, I was saying that for weeks. I was like, oh, yeah, they got it wrapped up. And then they just flamed out and missed the playoffs. So they ended up at 13. At 12, you got the Yankees. Yankees are outside of the top 10. They're behind the Twins, actually, they got a 10. Then they got the D-backs, and then they got the Yankees. Honestly, I'm fine with that. I can't. Diamondbacks made it to the World Series. The Twins, they won a playoff series. I mean, I don't have any issues with that. I really don't. But that was one of the bigger complaints, though, is the fact that the Diamondbacks were 11. I mean, this is a team that literally just made the World Series, and you got them at 11. It's kind of disrespectful. And again, that's coming from me, who picked against them in the Division Series, who picked against them in the Championship Series, and in the World. Well, they did lose the World Series, but still, I picked against them except that I did pick them to win in the Wild Card Series. I said they would beat the Brewers, but I think 11 is a little bit too low. But yeah, and then you got the Mariners at 9. I mean, this is a team that is talented. Obviously just talked about Julio Rodriguez to open up the show, winning the Silver Slugger. This is a team that, hopefully is better next year. You got Luis Castillo at the top of your rotation. Go make improvements. I mean, maybe if they land Ohtani, I mean, that would be insane. Because I know that was a team that, some people were looking at as maybe being a possible suitor for him. But they got him at 9. They got the Blue Jays at 8. I mean, listen, the Blue Jays roster is really good, but they just underperform. I mean, look at what they did in the playoffs. Their offense couldn't get anything going. Nothing. I think they scored, what would they score, like 1 run in the 2 games that they played? I mean, it was terrible. So, I mean, we'll see what the Blue Jays do in the offseason. I mean, because their pitching staff, I mean, with Gausman and Bassett and who am I missing? Gausman, Bassett. This is so bad that I'm missing somebody else. But yeah, you have those guys. I'm missing one. Who am I missing? And Barrios. Barrios pitched well this year. And this is with everything going on with Alek Manoah and how he really didn't pitch well. I mean, the Blue Jays have a good pitching staff, and their lineup wasted their performances. Well, and also the manager taking out Barrios was ridiculous, but that's going to happen. Then you actually have the Dodgers and the Astros outside of the top 5. You got the Dodgers at 7 and the Astros at 6. Dodgers aren't as loaded as they used to be. Obviously, people are looking at them as being the favorites to land Ohtani in the offseason. They let go of a lot of guys. The pitching staff wasn't that good this year, dealt with injuries as well. So we'll see what they do. They're still going to be a very good team, regardless of what they do. But, they definitely got to revamp some things on their team. Astros, you got at 6. I mean, I'd probably still put them in the top 5. I mean, they went to Game 7 of the Championship Series. The Rays, they got in the top 5. I would put the Rays outside of the top 5. I'd switch them in with the Astros. But, the Astros, we'll see what happens with Verlander. I mean, they obviously didn't get to where they usually get to, and that's the World Series. But they got to Game 7. There's something – they might have to revamp the pitching staff a little bit. but I would put them in the top 5 over the Rays. I know the Rays are a good team, but I just I don't know. I don't know what the Rays are going to do. We'll see. Because obviously, they had stuff going on during the season with Wander Franco, and wasn't a good situation to deal with. And then, obviously you really didn't do anything in the playoffs. You got swept by the Rangers in the wild card series. So I don't know. But you got them at 5. And then you got the Phillies at 4. Interesting situation with them. So it seems like Bryce Harper is going to be permanently moved to first base. So what does that mean for Rhys Hoskins? Are they going to get rid of him, move him to a different position? Like, how is that all going to play out? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But interesting that can happen. And you got Aaron Nola on the free agent market, so we'll see if he stays with them or he goes elsewhere. Then the top 3 is the Orioles, the Rangers, and then the Braves. Now I can't really complain. I mean the Orioles. I think the Orioles might be a little bit too high. I don't know if I'd put them in the top 3. Definitely a top 10 team. Top 5. I'd probably put them in the top 5, but I don't know if I would put them at. I don't know if I'd put them at 3. Braves at 1, Rangers at 2. I mean, I can't really complain about that, but I think the Astros should be in the top 5. But I don't know. That's just me. I mean, the Braves, of course, they have them there because of their roster, and I mean, I don't really have a problem with that. But I mean, they did fall flat in the playoffs. But again, like what they did in the regular season was unbelievable, and how some of the players performed. Matt Olson, Acuna, I mean, their offense was unbelievable, and they got a good starting rotation. The Rangers, I mean, we'll see what happens next year, obviously with the rotation, because DeGrom trying to work his way back. Scherzer, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Montgomery's a free agent, so we'll see what the Rangers do. But the Rangers are going to be good for years to come. I mean, they with Corey Seager and Simeon up the middle, Adolis Garcia, some of the younger guys that they brought up. Jonah Heim, Evan Carter. They got a good team. They got a good team. And they're World Series champs. So I mean they're they had a disappointing end to their regular season, but when it came to the playoffs, they were great. Didn't lose a single road playoff game, which is unbelievable. 12-0, right? 12-0, 11-0 was one of the two, but they were unreal in the postseason, and they're World Series champs. And you also got to credit the manager too. You got Bruce Bochy, who's been there so many times. So yeah, I mean the Rangers, you might say, well, I mean they deserve to be in the top 2. I mean they should be. I mean I think they should be at 1 because they just won the World Series, but the Braves, I understand why they'd be put at 1 just because their roster, but yeah, so the top 5, yeah, once again, Braves, Rangers, Orioles, Phillies, Rays. So that's the top 5. I think the Rays should not be in the top 5. I think they should be top 10, but not top 5. Astros, you should switch them in. The Orioles, I think, might be I don't think they should be at 3. I think they should be moved down a little bit, but that's just me. All right, so with that, we are going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about the top free agents for this offseason, and that'll be the end of the show for today. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to go through the top free agents for this offseason. We'll look at their potential fits. This is an article that MLB came out with, so we'll look at that. And we'll go from 25 up to 1. I mean, you know what the top free agents are going to be. So let's run right through that. And that'll take us to the end of the show, take us in right into the weekend. So let's get right into it. So starting off at 25, you got center fielder Harrison Bader. Obviously played with the Yankees this year and then was put on waivers. The Reds picked him up, try to help them and, secure a playoff spot, but that ended up not happening. He's a guy that plays good defense. He does have some pop in his bat, but, the one thing that concerns me with him is, his durability. It's a guy that's been injured, over the last couple of seasons. So that's the one thing that would hurt. But when he plays, he's great. He plays a great center field. And right now they have potential fits as the Cubs, the Giants, and the Nationals. So then we go to 24, and this is another guy that was put on waivers and was picked up by the Reds, and that was Hunter Renfroe. And this is a guy that has a ton of power. Could definitely help out, in terms of, making your team, more of a power team with hitting some home runs. He has one of the strongest outfield arms in the game, but his range is below average. That's what it says on the description for him. Potential fits are the Guardians, the Marlins, and the Pirates. So we'll see. That's an outfielder. Jack Flaherty, obviously, was with the Cardinals, then got traded to the Orioles to help out their rotation. Potential fits right now for him are the Nationals, the Pirates, and the Rays. He has regressed the past 2 seasons. He's had over the last 2 years, 4.84 ERA over 38 games. He was acquired by the Orioles at the trade deadline, and he went 1-3 with a 6.75 ERA in 9 appearances. And the Orioles removed him from the rotation. If the team really needs starting pitching, he's a guy that, someone could try to get. This is an interesting free agent. Jeimer Candelario at 22. So he was with the Nationals, having a good year. Cubs picked him up, traded for him. He had a career year in 2023, 22 home runs, 70 RBIs, and 807 OPS. Obviously there's better infielders, as I talk about Matt Chapman being somebody else that teams could look at, and he'll be higher on the list. But I think he'd be a good hit pickup. He's a switch hitter. I think any team would that needs him would. I think any team that might need a guy like him would pick him up. The Blue Jays, Cubs, and Dodgers right now are potential fits for him. So then I talked about this guy before, Marcus Stroman. So obviously he was with the Cubs last couple of years. He went 9-6 with a 2.96 ERA in the first half, and then dealt with a lot of injuries in the second half. He opted out to test the free agent market. Right now, potential fits: Cubs, Cardinals, and Angels. So he could go back to the Cubs, but we'll see. Whit Merrifield, another guy, utility guy, spent last season with the Blue Jays. Right now, potential fits are him, the Blue Jays, the Twins, and the White Sox. So, he's at 20. He's 35 years old now. That's crazy to think about. But, he's been around for a while. Yariel Rodriguez, a reliever. Potential fits for him are the Padres, the Yankees, and the White Sox. So he played in Cuba from 2015 to 2020. He joined the Dragons in Japan's Central League. He posted a 1.15 ERA and a 27.5% strikeout rate in 56 appearances in 2022. He pitched for Team Cuba in the World Baseball Classic. He did choose not to return to Japan, but he got himself ready for MLB. So so we'll see what happens if teams go out and try to get him. 27 years old. Lucas Giolito is ahead of him. He did have a rough go with the Angels after he was traded. He went 1-5. Oh, man. Yeah, so he was a top target at the trade deadline, and he went to the Angels. Went 1-5 with a 6.89 ERA in 6 starts with the Angels. And then he did bad with the Guardians. 1-4, 7.04 ERA in 6 starts, and it was not good for him this past season. Potential fits: they got the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, and the Red Sox. So now you got Rhys Hoskins. So he's actually he's a free agent. Torn left ACL kept Hoskins out for the 2023 season. He suffered that in spring training. And he's been somebody the Phillies have had for a while. He has hit at least 27 home runs in each of his first 4 full seasons. So, yeah, I mean, potential fits right now for him are the Brewers, the Mariners, and the Padres. So I did not realize that he was a free agent. I thought he was still, with the Phillies. But I guess, he's going to go sign elsewhere then because, the Phillies are moving Bryce Harper to first base. So then we go to 16. You got Teoscar Hernandez. Obviously, he was a power hitter for the Blue Jays. Went to the Mariners this past season. Did put together a respectable season. 26 home runs, 93 RBIs over 160 games. He has hit at least 25 home runs in each of his past 4 full seasons and carries a career OPS of 802. So that's really good. He's a solid player. He's got a solid arm in the outfield. So, potential fits right now for him are the Brewers, the Mariners, and the Mets. Then another Japanese player at 15, left-handed pitcher, Shota Imeaga. I hope I, again, apologize for the pronunciations. He started the gold medal game for Team Japan in this year's World Baseball Classic. He went 7-5 with a 2.66 ERA for the Yokohama Dina Bay Stars. He has been one of the best pitchers in Japan since he broke into the Central League in 2016. He's another guy that teams could try to get. Dodgers, Giants, and Mariners are the potential fits for him. Then you got Lourdes Gurriel Jr., obviously part of the National League champion Diamondbacks. So he was a part of that trade with Gabriel Moreno. The Varsho trade that sent them to Arizona. Varsho to the Blue Jays. Obviously, we know who won that trade. Team that played in the World Series. He actually had a good season. 24 home runs, driving in 82 runs with a 772 OPS. Potential fits are him, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, and the Yankees. Probably goes back to the Diamondbacks, maybe. For the Yankees, I mean, they're looking for left-handed bats. I don't think he would go there, but we'll see. Then you got another player, center fielder, 25 years old, Jung-Hoo Lee. He is expected to be posted by the Kiwoom Heroes in the KBO League. Had ankle surgery that ended his season in August. He was the 2022 League MVP who hit .429 for Team Korea in the World Baseball Classic and has a career .340 batting average. In 7 seasons in Korea and is considered to be an above-average defender in center field. The Yankees need a center fielder, so he's a potential fit. They're the Yankees, Giants, and Mariners. They have him. Then at 12, you got Eduardo Rodriguez, starting pitcher, pitched with the Tigers. He opted out of the final 3 years of his contract with the Tigers. Obviously, he was with the Red Sox before that. Potential fits for him, the Orioles, the Reds, and the Tigers in case they want to bring him back. So we'll see. And then you go to 11, Jorge Soler. Potential fits for him, Cubs, Marlins, Orioles. He won World Series MVP for the Braves a couple years ago. Obviously played with the Cubs, so he could maybe go back. Hit 36 home runs in 2023, and he's opting out of the final year of his contract. So we'll see, what happens with him. Then we're in the top 10. Matt Chapman, who we referenced before. The Yankees are a potential fit. Blue Jays, Dodgers, it says. I mean, I would take Matt Chapman at third base. 31 years old. Has a solid glove over there. The offense is a little inconsistent, but right now, DJ LeMahieu's getting older. I mean, Chapman's 31, but think right now you'd probably take Matt Chapman because right now, like, they let go of Donaldson. I mean, I don't know what the Yankees are going to do this offseason, but I would take Matt Chapman. He could go back to the Blue Jays. Dodgers are also another potential fit. JD Martinez at number 9. Obviously, he has had a solid career. Most recently playing with the Dodgers. Had a bounce-back season because 2022 wasn't the best for him. Potential fits right now for him are the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Mets. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's 36 now. But you know what? I think any team would be happy to have him because he still has that pop in his bat. And, if they need a DH. 33 home runs, 101 RBIs, 893 OPS in his first year with the Dodgers. So, yeah, he was solid for the Dodgers this year. Bounce back year for him. So, we'll see where he ends up. Jordan Montgomery, starting pitcher. We'll see what happens where he ends up. Potential fits right now for him, Cardinals, Cubs, and Rangers. I know that apparently the Yankees, maybe we're going to offer him a contract. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, I mean, he was great in the World Series, key component for their World Series run. And, we'll see where he ultimately ends up. Then at 7, you got Sonny Gray. Braves, Cardinals, and Twins are potential fits for him. But he's a Cy Young candidate this year. And, he's definitely going to get paid this offseason. We'll see if the Twins are able to bring him back. But, yeah, I mean, he looks like the old Sonny Gray. So, so he was at 7. They got Josh Hader at 6. And we'll see right now potential fits Angels, Phillies, and Rangers. Teams in need of a closer, he could be their guy. The Padres are going to be losing him, I think, regardless. Him now a free agent. Then we get to the top 5. You got Aaron Nola, top starting pitcher here. I mean, he is one of the most inconsistent starters. I mean, it's funny. It says he's one of the most consistent and durable starters in the majors. I would say he's one of the most inconsistent starters because, like, he just looks so good in some starts, and some starts he's just like, what's going on? But yeah, he bolstered his free agent resume with a strong postseason, going 3-0 with a .96 ERA in his first 3 starts before allowing 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings in his final championship outing against the Diamondbacks. But yeah, I mean, someone's going to get him, so we'll see. And then you got Cody Bellinger at 4. Cubs, Giants, and Yankees are potential fits. Had a bounce-back season. Hoping the Yankees get him. He was one of the top free agent targets, so we'll see. He plays center field, first base. I mean, I'd love to have him, so we'll see. And then the top 3, you got Blake Snell. Potential fits, you go back to the Padres. You got the Dodgers and the Cardinals also listed as well. On May 19th, Snell was 1-6 with a 5.4 ERA after 9 starts. And then, from that point, he was arguably the best pitcher in baseball, going 13-3 with a 1.2 ERA over his final 23 starts. I mean, you're getting a good one if you sign him. So we'll see where he ends up. Then you got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, obviously. Dodgers, Mets, and Red Sox potential fits. For him, he's going to be posted another one of Japan's best players. He won both Pacific League MVP honors and the Soromura Award, Japan's version of the Cy Young, in each of the past 2 years, and the Triple Crown in each of the past 3. So, yeah, we'll see where he ends up. 25 years old. We'll see where he ends up. And, of course, you got the MVP of this year and the best player in baseball when he's healthy, and that is Shohei Ohtani. We'll see where he ends up. I mean, there are so many teams that are going to be in on him. Right now people are looking at the Dodgers as being the favorites. Angels, Giants, Mets. I mean, the Mariners, there were talks about him. I remember going there maybe. We'll see. We'll see where he ends up. So, but yeah, those are all the top free agents. We'll see where they all end up in the offseason as the offseason continues to move along. We'll obviously break news in case anything happens. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show today. So I thank you guys for tuning in to both, in case you did. We'll be back again on Monday for another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast. So make sure to tune in. And that's it. So until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off from the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the weekend, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.